Hey everyone, welcome to part 5 of our 6-part series going from survival mode to sovereignty. Today's episode is going to be a little different. I am going to be sharing my story. So coming up in the next few episodes after the one that's after this one, we have a bunch of guest episodes. And so as of right now, when you watch this one, if you're watching chronologically, we haven't done any interviews yet. I am loving this interview space. So I'm excited to share those with you once the series is done. So for today, I have taken that model of interviewing someone and applied it to myself so that I can tell you guys my story. Because I think this is the perfect part in this 6-part series to help you understand who I am, my journey, and why I do the things that I do and how I do them. So this episode today is not going to be the traditional teaching episode that I normally do or empowering episode. This one's going to be structured like a conversation so that you guys can get to know, like I said, my story, the heart of the matter, the lived experience that I've had, what's brought me here, all of these good things. So it might be a little weird because all I did was I copy pasted all these questions into my notes. And so I'm just going to try to go through them as best as possible. Hopefully they won't repeat. So you might see me pause for a few moments while I skip questions that I might have already answered. Okay. So if you see yourself in my story as we go through this episode, I want you to know that this is exactly the kind of deeper work that I walk my clients through inside the balanced hormonal healing journey. And when this airs, the spring cohort of that journey will shortly be opened, but you can always get on the wait list where you will get early access to things and special goodies. I also have a discount for those who get on the waiting list first and join the program first. So the doors for that spring cohort actually starts the day after Easter. So Easter is actually this coming Sunday, and the doors will be open on Monday for the cohort. They will close on the 13th, and then we will start our healing journeys on the 14th of April. Perfect time because we are just stepping into spring, which is why obviously it's a spring cohort. But what that means is fresh starts, new beginnings, things blossoming into bloom, getting ready for summertime, all of these really great things. So I love doing this cohort specifically. So early access, you can join the waitlist. Like I said, it is lindsayalexis.co/balanced. Actually, that is for the actual program. The spring cohort waitlist, same website /spring-cohort, COHORT. All of it's in the description box below. So even though I kind of messed up that for a second, you can catch it, all the right links below. So let's move on to the interview questions and see how this process is going to pan out. The first question is for anyone who is newer to your world. Can you start by sharing a little about who you are and the kind of work you do? Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great starting point. I started this journey of the online space and coaching back in 2015. So it has been 11 Years. Wow. That has gone by very quickly. So I started in 2015. My first website was a blog site, and it was Mind, Body, and Soul after baby, because that was the season that I was in. I had just had my second child the year before, probably a few months before starting that business. And I was looking for a way to contribute to the financial aspect of the family that allowed me to stay home, have a schedule that worked around two under two, two kids under 2 years old. And I had always been involved in health, even though my degree is originally in restaurant management. Prior to going to college, starting back in high school, I was really into nutrition and health. Growing up wasn't really that healthy for me. I was active and everything, but I wasn't like taught how to focus on my health and what that meant as a female growing up through the teenage years, through college years, all of these things. So I really started to look into health at that point in time. I took food classes in high school. I took a personal fitness class in high school instead of taking regular PE. We were taught all kinds of things from both of those classes. And I actually started to lose a lot of weight in high school. To the point that it was what I was seeing at that time was not healthy, but I thought that I still had more to lose. So definitely had the body dysmorphia that people talk about. I, on top of like eating healthy, right? And really, really, really working out. The workouts that I would do every single day were intense. We're talking, let's see if I can remember some. We're talking, we would go outside to the track first and we would run the track. A lot of times we wouldn't just run the track, we would run the track, run up the bleachers, down the bleachers, like every single staircase, or I don't even know what you would call that. It's not a staircase. Every, like, you know how they have like the walkways, I guess, up and down the different sets of bleachers, like bleachers come in sets. So we would run, we called it easy bleachers or hard bleachers. Easy bleachers, we were given, we run up one of the staircases, run across the back bleacher, run down the next set of staircases, run across the front bleacher, run back up until you finally got to the end of the entire set of bleachers. That was easy bleachers. Hard bleachers, you ran up and down each staircase. So went up the staircase, came right back down the other side, and we like single filed it side by side on each side of the railing. And then we come down, run across the bottom bleacher, and then run back up. Same thing, up one side of the rail, down the other side of the rail. And that was called hard bleachers. So you ran that, then you ran the track, came back around, did it again. We would do that maybe 3 times, sometimes 4 times, but mostly it was 3 times. Then we would go back inside. You could walk the track too, like you didn't necessarily have to run it. But I think our coach at the time, had us walk the curves and run the straight. So we would do the bleacher, walk the curve, run the straight, walk the curve. Sounds really insane as I'm saying this. But that's what we would do. And that was just the beginning. That was our warm up. That was our warm up. So then we would go back inside and we would do strength training. We would lift weights. We would do the crunches, all the ab things, so many things. We would do PRs. I think my PR in high school for just a bench was like 245 or something like that. Crazy. It was crazy. I probably could not do that now. I could if I probably retrained myself. But I know me, and it was me and two other girls that were like at the top of that class as far as like strength training goes. It was crazy. It was crazy times back in high school. So we would do that. And then you would think that we were done because we got our warm up cardio and we did our strength training. Nope, we were not done. So after we did our strength training, we would go into this other room because the boys would come back in and do their strength training. We would go into this other room and we would do more like cardio stuff. And this could be like a Taibo video. It could be one of the boot camp videos. It could be partner workouts, like whatever it was, we continued to work out. So that's how I ended up losing like a lot of weight. On top of that, I was skipping breakfast. Biggest mistake ever, skipping breakfast. I had really low blood pressure too, which also didn't help that situation. So I would get migraines all the time. Then I think occasionally on top of all that, it definitely wasn't a consistent thing, but we had the I forget the name of them, but we had those thermogenic pills that were all the rage back then. I cannot think of the name of them to save my life. Anyways, so I would occasionally like take those because that's the thing that we were doing at that time. So not good. So actually one day when I was in chorus, we were practicing for a concert that was coming up, and I wasn't drinking a lot of water either, which was also an issue. I hated water, hated the taste of water, so I wasn't drinking it. So dumb. Like looking back at it, I say that. Looking back at it, like I guess because I didn't have that guidance, so I guess I was just trusting the coach that we had at the time. So I'm standing in chorus up on these small bleachers to practice our performance, and I'm at the top or second. I know I was either second to top or the top. I don't really remember which one. And we were singing in the middle of the set, and all of a sudden my vision got blurry. And I got really hot, really sweaty, like a hot flash. And I guess my teacher saw this happening. She was an excellent chorus teacher. Her and then my band teacher from early middle school, like those two teachers are probably like the best musical teachers that I've ever had in my entire life. Anyways, she saw me in some capacity, and the last thing I remember is her standing up from her chair, literally rushing, reaching through the crowd of children that were in front of me, grabs my arm and like yanks me down off of this bleacher set and sits me in the chair. And I like do one of those, right? And she has someone, help me like go get some water and stuff. So like I walk out of the chorus room and the cold air just hits my face, and I instantly like came to. That was the moment that I realized that I had to stop doing what I was doing because the migraines would not stop. That episode hit me really hard. And I was like, I can't, this isn't right what I'm doing. So that was kind of a wake up call, I guess, in a sense, that I needed to be more attuned to my body. I needed to stop ignoring signals that I was having, hunger, fatigue, all of these things. I needed to stop ignoring these things and really start listening. So this all happened really early on in my life. From there, having children shifted some things, becoming single shifted some things, doing more integrative work, more nervous system work. All of these things just slowly started stacking onto one another and really helped develop everything that you guys see today in the podcast, in the programs, on the freebies, all of the things. So that's a little bit about where this started. Where this really started to take up the online space, like I said, was just had my second child, wanted to contribute to the financial income of the family, and just really wanted to support moms through what we go through when we have a child, let alone when we have two under two. So I already knew the nutrition stuff. We also did nutrition with my restaurant background. And I understood how big of a role nutrition actually played in the aftermath of a mom, on top of trying to balance all of the things. I went through issues with breastfeeding, more so my first than the second. Wasn't able to do it that long. And again, that goes back to how I treated my body and the nourishment that I was giving it. So that was kind of my story that I told back then as well. Moving through having those children, though, I again gained all the weight that I had lost basically in high school. I just regained it. I had kept that weight off through college. I had done the right things in college. But after having them, I regained all of it back because I was anemic during my first pregnancy. Just all of these things. The season that it was when my first was born attributed to it, the cravings attributed to it, the stress attributed to it, like so many things. So I ended up gaining all that weight back with the first one. Didn't lose it when I had the second one. She was normal, like I gained the normal amount of weight. Yeah. So then from there is where I really had to put in the work to, now that my hormones had been shifted from having children, I really had to put in a different kind of work because there's no way that I'm going to be running bleachers after you have children. Like, that's ridiculous. It was ridiculous in high school. What am I talking about? Anyhow, so that's kind of like I said, like a brief overview of the journey. The things that I have worked throughout all of this process for the past 20 plus years has all attributed to how I do my methodology in my business. And so the core of everything that I do, from coaching to the free PDFs to the connection calls to the retreats to all the things, it all comes back to the balance method. Each one of those letters in the word balance has a different connotation to it. And when you enter my program or you go on the website page for it, you can see what each letter stands for. But each letter has a meaning. It has its own part of the process that we go through in all of those programs. It is the foundational work of the healing lifestyle, of my coaching, of this podcast, of all the things. So you guys are more than welcome to check that out. Like I said, the links are all going to be in the show notes in the description box below. So yeah, check that out. So what the kind of work that I do now, like I said, is not just nutrition focused. It is not just physical focused. It is mental, it is emotional, it is spiritual, it is your environment. It is all of the things that encompass you as a person and all the things that affect you as a person, from your history to your present to where you want to go to the environment you're in to the lifestyle you live. Like, so many things attribute to you as an individual that a lot of the ways that we practice medicine today kind of miss those pieces, so that our healing modalities aren't as focused on the root cause and really digging up the roots to get to the bottom of why things are the way they are and how your body naturally wants to heal itself. So that's really the big encompassing thing with my process and my products. Is I'm not here to give you blanket statements on the things to do or not to do. I give you full, whole, individualized, personalized plans, right? And then, especially if you're in the program, I check in with you every other week. And if things aren't working for you for whatever reason, we adjust it and then we try again. And then if that's not working, we try again. So it's not something where I'm like, you have to do this, this, this. This is the only way. If you aren't aligned with it, you're not aligned with it, and that's okay. We will fix it. We will figure something else out. So that's my platform. All right, the next question. Let's see. I kind of already answered that one. What led me into this work? I gave you the personal experience. Okay, this is a good one. Before I understood what was really going on in my body, what were some things I was experiencing physically, emotionally, or mentally? At that time, what did I believe healing was supposed to look like? Okay, yeah, this is good. So, I've already mentioned like the whole high school experience, right? Um, let's jump forward to what I feel most of you are experiencing. So, you might be on your way to having children. You might currently be pregnant. You might have already had your children. You might have had a child and are now having another child. Um, so things that I was experiencing in those moments is where I think I need to focus. From the outside, it seemed like I had everything figured out. It seemed like I was raising my children what would be the right word? Let's just say correctly. I was feeding them healthy food. I was actually making their food. There was a point at which we ended up starting to buy the food from the store, but I was making their food. I was blending the food, cooking the food, making the food, all the things. The diaper bag was highly, highly, highly organized. It literally had everything in it. There was always a solution that I had already pre-planned for if the issue arrived. I'll put it that way. So, like, if we were going to the store, right? In my head, I would have thought about all the things that my children would need potentially. Is it snacks? Is it water? Is it a milk? Because we didn't give them juice. Is it a toy? Is it a nap? Is it to be held? Um, do I need wet wipes? Like, are they going to make a mess? Do I have enough diapers? Do I have their favorite toy? Do I have their favorite blanket? Do I have something to cover the cart where they sit at? Do I have my own water? Do I have my own snacks? Do I have I used to have this sling, and I think you could like breastfeed in it. I don't know. Did I have all that, right? Did I have my pump in case like I needed to pump, right? Like there were so many things that would go, and then because I had two, right? Now we're talking like, okay, what does my toddler need versus what does the baby need? And do we have all these things? Do they have changes of clothes? Like I could go on for days about the mental processes that would every single day go through my head, every single minute, every single hour of the day. And that's just to go to the store. That example is just to go to the store. That is not me cooking dinner, planning dinner. That is not us grocery shopping. Like there's so many different pieces of overwhelm that go through you mentally as a mom. That's how it starts to show up physically as well. So mentally, you're over functioning. And a lot of times that over functioning can feel like being like a robot. I always tell people I was just in robot mode. I was just surviving. Like I wasn't even paying attention to myself because I was paying so much attention to the children, to my ex-husband, to the environment, to what does everybody else need, that I ignored and disregarded all the things that were showing up for me physically. Guess what came back? Migraines. Migraines started to come back. Lower back pain started to show up. I don't remember if there was swelling in my feet, but I would probably say that there was swelling in my feet because anytime that there has been a lot of stress in my life, that has happened. So I would not be surprised. And maybe I just didn't notice it. There was a point where how, I don't know, maybe you guys would know this, but you know how you're so far right that eventually you decide, I have to change all of this, and you go so far left, you don't actually hit that balanced part. So here I am over functioning. And I was like, oh man, I'm like really paying attention to like everybody else. I need to pay attention to me. So I pendulum swing to the other side. Not that I wasn't still caring for everybody and doing all the things for everybody all the time, but I started to pay more attention to myself, and it wasn't in a healthy way. I started to do beach body stuff. I started to do the smoothies and the drinks and all of these things. I started joining a bunch of MLMs and trying to help bring that income in. And I ended up losing a lot of weight again, but I was doing it again in a very intense, strict kind of way. I was doing the strict dieting. I pre-portioned all of the meals in the meal prep containers. I did the chicken and the sweet potato basic things for so long. And yes, I saw results. I lost a lot of weight. But I still had migraines. I still had fatigue. I still had all of these things, and it just did not make any sense. And I would fuel myself with these caffeine drinks and stuff through that MLM. And it was a nasty cycle. And so both of those things started to run parallel. And chronic stress over time, high functioning over time, showing up for everybody all the time, people pleasing all the time, and not doing proper nervous system work, not pausing and actually resting, just continuing to go, led me to a mental, emotional breakdown / panic attack at 2 a.m. one night. I kept telling myself, I got it. I got this. I can do this. It's fine. This is just how it is. It won't be like this forever. All of these things, I just kept push my feelings, push my thoughts, push my, physical well-being, just compartmentalize all of it all the time. And that's what led me to that. And I've told this story before on one of my friends' podcast. And when I told them the podcast, when I told them this section about me, they said they literally got chills because they could feel being in that same moment. 2 a.m., nobody's awake in the house. I woke up. I don't know if I had a dream or just couldn't sleep. But I woke up and I walked out to the kitchen. My mind was just racing. And our laundry room is in our kitchen. And like I said, I don't know what the actual snapping point was. I really don't remember. But I do remember I couldn't breathe. I was crying incessantly. I just couldn't catch my breath. And something in me came over me. And looking back at it every time, God bless. Something said, if this was your daughter in this moment, and she came to you and told you that this had happened, that all of this stuff was going on, what would you say to her? I was able to pause in that moment, have that download intuition thought, and it snapped me out of it. Because the greatest thing about our intuition is we already know. We are already resourced with everything that we need as a woman internally, intuitively, from God, source, the universe, whatever you believe in. You are already sourced. Even on a molecular energetic level, you are sourced. And I knew exactly in that moment that I couldn't do this anymore. Just like I knew in that moment back in high school that I couldn't continue doing what I was doing. That moment was another pivotal moment. And it changed the trajectory of my life since then. I would not be here today, the person I am, the healed version that I am, doing this podcast, doing this work, if that moment in time didn't happen. I would probably still be over functioning. I would probably have settled into a 9 to 5 job. I would probably be living a Groundhog Day every single day, overwhelmed, burnt out in somebody else's world and not my own. I would not have my own sovereignty. I would not have my own peace. I would not have my clarity. I would not have the wisdom, all of these things, if that moment had never happened. So that is what I was experiencing at that time, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And as far as what I believed healing was supposed to look like, it's exactly what I told you. It was strict protocol diets. It was exercises that were high cardio, high intensity. It was negating how my body was signaling, right? Was telling me you're tired, you're hungry, this and that. The migraines. Excedrin was my best friend, my best friend. And so healing to me was just pushing through, doing what everyone else told me to do, doing all the new popular diet fads, all the things. Because something had to work eventually. Yeah, it worked physically. I lost a lot of weight, but it didn't stay. It was a temporary solution. It was not a long-term solution. And it definitely did not heal my nervous system. It probably actually made it a whole heck of a lot worse. But nervous system work wasn't something that was popular 10 years ago. I'm very glad it's popular now, though. And that's why I've integrated it into the healing modality that I have, because it's so crucial. Okay. Right. Kind of answered that question just now. The next question. The biggest shift when it came to healing, like I said, was just that realization that this had to stop. But it always took, and maybe it's because I'm a Taurus and I'm just stubborn like this my whole life, but it took that, like, hitting the wall basically moment each time for me to be like, okay, whoa, let's try something different because this is not healthy. So I get it if that's where you're at, where you haven't necessarily had that hit the wall moment. But that's also why I'm here, is to try to help you to not come to that hit the wall moment, because when you do hit the wall, it hurts. In case you didn't know, hitting a wall really does hurt. And it just takes a lot more healing work and deep inner work to pull yourself out of it. I'm not saying it's impossible. Obviously, I'm here today because I was able to do so. But I would rather help you guys prevent that moment from happening than to really, really, really dig deep with you and have to pull you out. I will do that if I have to. But I'd rather, they say, like, listen to the wisdom of people who've been through that experience. Do that. Do that. Okay, so much of this series has been about disconnection. How did disconnection show up in your journey? I kind of already told you guys that. Like, I just kept, ignoring the signs and symbols and pushing it down and, all of these things. So, what did reconnection start to look like for you in a real everyday way? That's a good question. Okay, so again, I had hit that moment of that mental emotional breakdown, right? And I knew things had to change. And so, you know what changed? Me standing up for myself. Because when I asked that question, I was given an answer and I followed that answer. And part of that answer meant that I needed to start standing up for myself. to stop overgiving, to stop people pleasing. And trust me, it wasn't like an overnight shift where I just said that and then I just went and did it. Like, we're talking years of me after that healing, doing the inner work, healing again, being triggered by things, healing again. Like, this was like, and has been, and up until now has been almost, a daily, weekly thing. Like, there's always something else, that we figure out, we find out about ourselves that we didn't know before, and we take those steps to heal what that is that we find out. So my healing work is not done yet, but I have come a very, very, very long way from that moment in the closet. So the moment that happened, that was 2019. So I had been doing the online business. I had been doing all the things as the good wife and the good mom and all that mess, for 4 years straight. And once the kids started back in school, I actually took up a quote unquote real job to help with the financial situation. Um, and that also kind of helped me stand up for myself, because then I had my own money coming in. I had my own stability that I was doing, and it taught me who I was, at least at the time, who I was at the time in that season. It taught me that I'm not just a mom, that I am a woman, that I am a person who, um, deserves to have the things that she wants, um, who doesn't need to validate herself through other people. I would always be asking people, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you think I should do this? All the time I would do that. Um, so yeah, so like I said, every step of this process has been over time. This isn't like a quick fix type solution. So by doing these things every day, I started to just show up for myself more, a little bit every day. And like I said, as things came to me that needed healing, that were triggering, I did tarot cards about it. I watched things online about it. I did frequency music for chakra work. I had friends who were in kind of the spiritual community who kind of taught me more things. I went back to school. I went back to school for a second bachelor's degree in biology. Learned a lot about the body, anatomy, learned a lot about cells and functioning and genetics and a plethora of things, that kind of combined my already knowledge of nutrition and physical health with exactly how it works in the body. And I did a bunch of research papers. I was a lab assistant and a teaching assistant, and we did a whole, molecular cancer cell, um, research with that, mammalian cell culture research. So, like, there were a bunch of things that I did with the biology thing too. And like I said, it was just continuing to take the next step in finding myself and reconnecting with myself. And then once I came out of school, that's when the energetics piece really started to step in. The nervous system work. I started to do more tarot work, more Reiki sessions, more chakra work. Like, all of these things, started to build on top of each other. So yes, it started with the physical, with the nutrition, and then we went into the mental and emotional, and now we've come out the other side to the spiritual aspect. And every single step of those, I have learned so much, and that's why I combine it all in all of the work that I do. Okay. Were there any habits, beliefs, or patterns that you had to unlearn? Yeah. People pleasing, overgiving, proving myself to others, um, being an emotional regulator for others, trying to control outcomes, trying to control timelines, um, giving myself permission to do certain things, understanding the energetics of stuff was a really big to do. Like I said, the chakra work and moving energy in and out and becoming more intuitive, all of that was a big to do. Understanding generational trauma that I had around certain things, more specifically money. Um, there's been a lot. Codependency was another one that I had to unlearn. Worthiness was another one that I had to learn. There were things about the business that I also needed to learn, because your business is just like having a baby where it's going to reflect back certain things for you to heal. So I always agree with the women out there who say, if you ever want to heal yourself, have a child and or have a business. Both of those are going to really fine tune you into who you're actually meant to be, what your purpose is, what your identity is, because both of those things are going to give you feedback, um, into the things you're just BSing yourself on. So much clarity has come through those two, um, two things, the children and having my own business for so long. They have reflected things that ultimately I have been able to heal. Things that we as women are taught are normal and that we should do. So I have plenty of books that I have read over the years about all of those things. Like I said, that's kind of why I integrate everything I've learned, my experience, others' experiences into the work that I do. So again, I just want to touch base here kind of in the middle. If you are listening to this and you're realizing that, hey, some of my story is resonating with you and you are craving more than just that surface level advice and you really want that deeper understanding from someone who's been there, walked through it, from someone who knows what real support's going to look like, who can actually personalize your path forward and not just give you blanket statements or protocols that they give to everybody, then that is why I encourage you to join, especially now, this spring cohort of the balanced hormonal healing journey, because it's for those women who are just done with everything that I've mentioned so far in this podcast episode. You're just ready to stop guessing, trying to put the puzzle pieces together. You're done with like over functioning, overthinking, planning all the things all the time, and you're just ready to come back home to yourself. You're ready to reconnect with yourself. And like I said, become more sovereign, become more at ease, more at peace, and stop over functioning and experiencing burnout. Like, I don't want you to hit the wall, right? So by doing this, yes, it says to balance your hormones, but it's so much bigger than that. I just think that the core of the program is to start on that cellular level. Like I said, too, we do that nervous system work in combination with the nutrition and the physical, but we also touch on the mental because mental is also a big proponent to all of this. So that's kind of why I have the modality of blending that science with spirit, because you need both. You definitely need both. So check the description box below, like I mentioned earlier, or you can go to lindsayalexis.co/spring-cohort. The next question will continue. I kind of already answered it. It says, we blend science and spirit together. So how did I come to hold both of those together? So like I said, it's been the journey. It started with that nutrition and physical aspect that I was doing so wrong. Then it started with the mental work because of the mental breakdown. And then now it's been this spiritual piece. And so the spiritual piece really, really, really came more into fruition. So I had it already in the program before this happened, what I'm about to tell you, but it became more prevalent to me after this. So last year, the end of 24, and then the entire year of 25, so we're talking real recent, was catastrophic. And that may seem really dramatic, but the universe literally removed everything from my life. Everything. The Bible talks about false idols. And looking back at the situation that unfolded, I could see how that kind of played into that. But it really stripped me down to my core. And it is only from there that we're able to rebuild a stronger foundation. So I thought that I had a strong foundation, but then all of these things happened and I realized I did not. And the right things show up at the right time. So the right books and research and people and all these things started to show up as I needed them. And I am here today with so much stressing on the nervous system, like teaching it educationally, because we seem to think that that should be secondary. But from what I went through and now how I can see other people who are going through some, not the same things that I went through, but through the hangups that I had before these things happened to me. I'm going to tell you, I promise, in a second. I can see them differently now because everything was taken away, because the people that I'm seeing in this new light have not had everything taken from them. They have not had everything removed from their life. So I was at a point where I had to leave my job for a couple of reasons. By doing so, I was hoping on my business to support me through what I needed. Well, God had other plans. So the income that I needed to support myself just was not showing up. Because of that, I had to leave where I was staying and move back with family. So my independence was taken away. A few months after that, after me like accepting the fact that that had happened, I got in a car accident with my brand new car. Not even 6 months had that car. Love that car. See what I mean? Absolutely love that car. Got in an accident with it. Not my fault. We were at a stoplight in traffic, and this person didn't see that we were stopped at a stoplight because apparently the sun had hit them a certain way and they couldn't see us. So they crashed into the back of us. And it ended up, nobody was hurt. So that was good. But the car was totaled. And now I was left without a car and no consistent income coming in. So my nervous system, needless to say, got really shot after that car accident happened. That's where the nervous system work started to really come in, because It didn't matter how healthy of things that I did, whether it was strength training, whether it was eating right, whether it was taking the supplements, whether it was getting enough sleep, didn't matter. I gained 10 pounds very shortly after that happened. And for the life of me, it would not come off at all. Didn't matter what I did. So nervous system work became a part of really what I did to help overcome, because when your body is in that fight or flight where it doesn't feel safe, there's nothing that you're going to do correctly to help it if you do not address that nervous system work. So I learned all these different modalities, started applying them to myself. Then I felt everything just click back into place. And it's actually from there that this sovereignty and this peace and this ease that I experience every single day has been able to really show up fully and come through. And again, I could not be more grateful that all of these things happened, because I have been able to walk through it, learn from it, heal from it, and be able to teach you guys how to do the same without having to fully succumb to everything that I had to walk through. And so that is how the spiritual aspect of things started to come into the science part of all the things. Okay. Next question. I kind of touched on this one. It says, what do you think's missing from a lot of the conversations happening in hormonal healing right now? And I think it's that. I think it's the nervous system work. I think it is combining all the different modalities that are out there and really honing in on the specific person and what their body specifically is actually needing. I think that we are like, oh, if you're over a certain age and your hormones are doing this and that you should do this and that this is the solution for you. And that's really not true, because what works for me is not going to necessarily work for you. Some of it might, but I guarantee you not all of it will. We're all different blood types. We're all different environments from all different lifestyles. We have different genetics. Like, there are so many things that impact who you are as an individual. To be able to say that this one thing is going to work for, even 90% of the people is ridiculous. Don't believe that kind of stuff. So I feel like that is the type of conversations that are missing in that hormonal healing space. I was also going to say mentally, but nervous system is kind of in conjunction with mentally. For the woman who feels like she's doing everything right and not feeling better, what do you want her to most understand? Well, my core baseline is that nothing is wrong with you and you're not broken, because that's for sure. And again, it goes back to us being told so many different things that it actually applies more stress than it does being helpful. And so what's right for somebody else might not be right for you. So you might feel like you're doing everything right, but you're really not doing everything right, because nobody's really sat down with you to figure out what exactly is right specifically for you. I already told you guys that question. This is an interesting question. It says, what point did you realize this work was something you were meant to guide other women through? From a very young age, I knew I was going to be a teacher of some sort. I knew that I had a spiritual psychic intuition about me, very connected, highly connected. I also knew that I would not necessarily have my name in lights, but that I was meant for bigger things than what was surrounding my environment. I've always been aspirational, highly motivated individual. Did I know that it would come out the way that it's come out? No, because honestly, originally I wanted to be a paleontologist. I listened to people in my environment who told me that was ridiculous. So, and that I wouldn't make money off of it. So I switched to owning my own restaurant, because I love food. I love cooking. I love people. mostly. No, I love hospitality. I think giving people experiences is just fills my heart. And to share moments with people that are like critical in their life is also something that like just melts my heart every single time. I'm a highly empathic person. So like I feel everybody's energy all the time, which can be at a detriment to myself, honestly. But to be able to provide a space for people to celebrate moments of their life, like was something that I was very passionate in doing. Again, I was on this path and now I'm on this path, but they're not very different. Um, I've always had the confirmation from God because of my intuitive connection with Him and spirit guides and ancestors and everything to know that this is what I'm meant to do. A lot of times in church, we talk about finding our purpose. I've always just known this because I've sat and I've had those conversations um, intuitively before. So I've always known that this was the general path. Again, that it would come out in this way, didn't know. But I feel like that too, like we don't always have to know the how, we just have to know what the next step is. What inspired me to create the balanced hormonal healing journey specifically was exactly what I just said. There's no space that gives you all of the different modalities in one. And it wasn't originally named the balanced hormonal healing journey. It was just the healing journey. But I think as we progress as women into, our mid 30s, mid 40s, early 50s, adding that piece about balancing our hormones is really key because we are having the children right now. We are transitioning in our lives. We are in all these different phases that deal specifically with hormones, which is why I added the balanced hormonal aspect of it, balanced being the root methodology in what I teach. So there's that. But it's always been a healing journey that embodies all these functional medicine type, holistic type modalities and structure in order to get the best healing for you, right? My mission is to not have people continually stay with me as a coach. I want you to come in, get the healing work you need, have it be sustainable for you, and you just continue to sustain it after you leave me. There are a couple who are repeat clients because the healing has to have gone deeper. But outside of that, most of the time, we do the 90 days and you are free to continue your healing. Okay. So the work is for, like I said, anybody who resonated with any of my story. If you're overwhelmed, overfunctioning, if you've had burnout, if you are experiencing a mental emotional breakdown, if you're ready to go from this survival state to sovereignty, to peace, to ease, to like this breath, exhale, then that's who this is for. 100%. I have other programs. I have a 30-day program as well as a 6-month program with retreats. So it really just depends on where you're at and what you're looking for as to what I provide. But the general path that I send people down is just the 90-day program. Let's see, we already talked about that. Okay, so I'm going to stop this right here because I've answered all of these questions. If this episode hit home for you in any capacity, if your journey feels similar to my journey, or if the end result is similar, right? Or you desire the end result that I bring to the table for transformation for women, and you know that you're just ready to like stop all of this stuff, stop all of these cycles and patterns and stuff that aren't yours to hold, then please, please, please get on the wait list if it's before the 6th of April. If not, then just go ahead and sign up. But really take me up on my offer for the balanced hormonal healing journey. Again, the doors are going to be open from the 6th to the 13th of April. So if you're listening to this after that time period, you can always go to lindsayalexis.co/balanced with a D to just get all the details on the program itself. But like I said, if you're listening to it now, jump on that wait list, get the specials that I'm running right now, and really get those first invites in. Okay. And like I said, if this is resonating with you, or if you know somebody that this would resonate with, then please, subscribe to the podcast, share this episode out, really get people to listen in and tune in to my story in order to heal their story. And then I can help all of you guys along your way to the next step. Other than that, we have one more episode of the series to go. And then I have my first guest after that. She is a PA who does cycle syncing, and I feel like that perfectly fit with the episode after the end of this series. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for joining in and listening to